Time limits and counter offers. This topic never goes away. Hi, everybody. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors and the director of the Real Estate Academy of America. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's topic is the time limit of an offer and a counter offer, and the confusion that continues to surround the issue of time limits. So let's get into it. For whatever reason, there are a lot of agents and or buyers and sellers that think when they write an offer or when they receive an offer, and there is a time limit to that offer, they mistakenly think that that is the time for the party to respond. And that's partially true if the party receiving the offer is going to respond with full acceptance and no changes. But that's not what seems to be the prevailing sentiment or thought, mistaken thought. So the time limit of an offer is not just an open-ended generic response time. That is, as I said, if the party is going to respond with no changes and just accepting the offer as presented, then yes, it must be signed, i.e. accepted, and sent back to the party making the offer prior to the expiration of that time limit, and then you have a binding contract. However, if the party who receives the offer is going to make a counter offer, the time limit is a moot point and has nothing to do with anything. Let's say, for example, a buyer writes an offer to a seller and they put a time limit on it of today at 6 p.m. Well, if the seller is going to make a counter offer, counter any of the terms whatsoever, then it doesn't matter. A seller can make in my example, it could be the other way around too, but a seller can make a counter offer to a buyer before the time limit of the offer, a few hours after the time limit of the offer, a couple days after the time limit of the offer. A counter offer to, in my example, a buyer's offer, a seller making a counter offer to a buyer's offer starts the ball game all over again, and the time frames have nothing to do with the time limit. So let me show you in the contracts why I'm telling you this and where that is all spelled out. So let me share my screen. And here we go. So this is the purchase and sale agreement. And you will see in paragraph A11, time limit of offer. The offer set forth herein expires. This offer with the terms as written in the offer expire. They are pulled off the table. They are no longer open for acceptance. These terms expire at whatever time on whatever date. The definition of that, or the further explanation, can be found in paragraph B11, and B11 goes on to state the time limit of the offer shall be the date and time referenced herein when the offer expires. It is no longer good. It is no longer open for acceptance. If you're at a grocery store and a food item expires, guess what? They take it off the shelf. It is no longer available for purchase because that item has expired. So time reference here when the offer expires, unless prior to that date and time, two things have to occur. Both the following have occurred. A, the offer has been accepted by the party to whom the offer was made, and B, notice of acceptance of the offer has been delivered to the party who made the offer. So that means, in my example, a buyer writes an offer to a seller. They put a time limit of today at 6 p.m. Prior to 6 p.m. tonight, the seller, in my example, has been accepted, i.e. signed by the seller with no changes. So accepted by the party to whom the offer was made, in my example, the seller, and notice of acceptance, the seller sent back the signed accepted offer to the buyer. Notice of acceptance of the offer has been delivered to the party who made the offer, in my example, the buyer. So, Dana, if the seller is going to make a counter offer, why don't they have to respond within that time frame? Because this time limit only has to do with acceptance for a binding contract with no terms changed. If the seller, in my example, it could be a seller making a counter offer to a buyer, so forth and so on. But in my example, to keep things easy, buyer makes an offer to a seller. They put a time limit of 6 p.m. tonight. The seller is going to make a counter offer to one or many of the items, the price, the closing date, closing costs, one other provision. If that happens, the seller makes a counter offer on the counter offer form. This is the counter offer form. It is GAR F249, counter offer to or modification of the unaccepted original offer. So right there, that gives us our first clue. Remember, the definition is of the time limit, when we look at B11, states that it has to have been accepted. The offer has been accepted. Well, we look at the counter offer, and it even says in the title, counter offer to or modification of the unaccepted original offer. Original offer was not accepted, so the time limit is a moot point and is thrown out and has nothing to do with the negotiations. Additionally, when a party is making a counter offer, in my example, the seller making a counter offer to the buyer, this counter offer form, look what it has. It also has its own time limit of this counter offer. This counter offer, which incorporates and controls over the original offer, this counter offer shall expire at a new date and time, unless prior to that time it is accepted in writing and notice is delivered to the party who made the counter offer. So the ball starts all over again, and this counter offer, in my example, from the seller back to the buyer, these terms are only open for acceptance until this date and time. Again, a seller can make a counter offer to a buyer a day after they receive the offer, a day after the time limit of the original offer, a week after the time limit of the original offer. Prior to it, it doesn't matter. If they're making a counter offer, the game starts anew, and the seller's counter offer to the buyer, in my example, has its own time limit. So I hope this video helps you out. I'm going to link below some previous videos I have done on time limits. So check that out. I welcome your comments and your experience with the seems to be a lot of professional misunderstanding of what a time limit is in an offer and a counter offer. Thank you so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.